obviously it's him, and he did it, and he still denied at last minute. And so he's been, I feel like he's been taking advantage of our system. It's a little bit too loose.
A family has finally gotten to say their piece and get some justice after a taxing trial for the brutal murder of a 13-year-old Burnaby, BC girl back in 2017. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, standing in front of the Vancouver Supreme Courthouse to tell you what went down June 7th during the sentencing hearing for a Syrian national named Ibrahim Ali.
The hurt that this defense has caused our family is immeasurable.
On December 8th last year, a jury found Ibrahim Ali guilty of the first-degree murder of a teen girl just months after he had arrived to Canada as a single, military-aged male Syrian refugee. While some of the details related to the case that followed, including the child's identity, are sealed by a publication ban, that didn't stop loved ones of the teen from giving victim impact statements today that will ensure she'll never be forgotten. Statements that also serve to ensure that the man who brutally raped and strangled the young girl would also not forget how much his heinous acts have plagued them. Among the family members who spoke was the young girl's brother and father, who we also can't identify. While holding a picture of his sister, the big brother described her as a lover of anime, video games, Harry Potter, and making clothing.
We miss her, and nothing will ever fill the void that she left when she was so brutally and suddenly torn from us. But we hope that she can find a modicum of peace now, knowing that we caught the monster that did this.
He reminisced about the last words he had had with his little sister, kicking himself over them, being dismissive in nature because he had to go to work, and he didn't know that Ali would be taking her away from him. Ali, who was wearing a red prison sweatsuit and for some reason had on black gloves, attended the hearing virtually. He sat in a small room with white walls where he could see the victims on a screen and hold a phone to his ear so that his interpreter could translate their words for him. Through the child's brother's statement and others, Ali's demeanor remained mostly impassive. That is, until the father, who was last to give his statement and did so via a pre-recorded video, was up. At that point, Ali began to make gestures of frustration and even let go of the phone so that he could no longer hear his interpreter. But he must have been able to hear something still from the phone. He began to pace back and forth and sit down and crouch, and eventually started plugging his ears as the father told his story about how much his daughter meant to him. The full court gallery watched as this bizarre behavior was happening, but the father's message still was heard. It included mention of how the dad and the mother had fled China's one-child policy to fulfill their dream of having a daughter to accompany their only son. He also spoke about how dark his life has been since the loss of his daughter, including struggling with anger and at times even contemplating suicide. Once the statements commenced, Justice Lance Bernard asked Ali if he had any words to add. Instead of apologizing to his victims, Ali took the coward's approach and professed that he was innocent instead. "I didn't do this. This is unfair," Ali stated, even though there was DNA evidence that stated otherwise. How are you guys feeling about the sentence?
We are satisfied with the sentence today. It's a lifelong time in prison and with no parole for 25 years. And so this is the, even though Marie brought back, but at the same time, this is the next best thing we can see today.
Ali told the judge he didn't kill her, and he kept saying he never went to that park, nor was he ever seen in the footage of the last moments of the little girl's life. Justice Bernard seemed unmoved, and when Ali was done, he sentenced him to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 25 years, and with 1 day's credit for the days he had already spent in prison since being arrested in 2018. Supporters of the family, who have been following the case closely, celebrated the sentence and also put out a plea on behalf of the family. And what about the behavior of Ibrahim inside of the courthouse, in particular when her father was reading his victim statement? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, he never feel any guilty. He never, well, as a human being, I don't know where's the humanity that it's just ridiculous. It's a 13 years old girl, my goodness, for God's sake. Well, you rape her and you kill her and you feel nothing. I don't quite understand. And he still can say that I wasn't at the park, I wasn't kill her. Are you here to make fun of Canadian judicial system? We are Canada. Well, I have I have no words to describe people like that.
You know, it's obviously it's him, and he did it, and he still denied at last minute. And so he's been, I feel like he's been taking advantage of our system. It's a little bit too loose. And also he's been away from the sentence for 7 years. It's a long time in history, as I can see. And but anyways, today is the final sentence, and we got it, and we made it, and we still can trust the justice of Canada.
Thank you both. I'd like to say that's the end of the tragic story, but unfortunately, an appeal is already being pursued on behalf of Ali. The child's brother had a few choice words for his sister's killer before pledging that his family would be filing a formal complaint against Ali's defense counsel in an effort to try and have them disbarred.
The path that led to here today has been very long and painful for all involved. A lot of pain has stemmed from the defense counsel on this case. They chose to accuse my 13-year-old sister of having consensual relations with the then 27-year-old Ali. They chose to go so far as to suggest that she was somehow attracted to that animal. Can you imagine how that feels?
Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. At Rebel News, we bring you independent journalism that's free from government funds and government interests. If you appreciate the news that we bring you, consider being a part of what makes it possible by donating what you can at rebelnews.com/donate. We appreciate your support.